Trell stood at the viewing window of his cloaked observation ship, watching the blue planet called Earth rotate slowly below. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he recorded another day of notes about the fascinating species that called this world home. After 20 years of watching humanity, he still found them unpredictable. Another war has started in the eastern regions, his assistant Tom reported. They had given each other simple Earth names years ago, finding their actual names too complex for daily use. How many does that make now? Trell asked, though he already knew the answer. He had counted every conflict, large and small. 17 active conflicts across the planet, Tom replied, his silver skin reflecting the pale blue light from Earth. And yet they still advance. Look at these new developments in their space program. The holographic display showed humans preparing another Mars mission. They had no idea that they were being watched, no concept that their solar system sat at the edge of a galaxy-spanning war that had raged for over 300 years. Trell moved his long fingers across the control panel, bringing up his latest report to the Confederation Council. Humans continue to display remarkable adaptability, he wrote. While they wage war against themselves, they simultaneously cooperate on scientific endeavors. They create weapons of destruction with one hand and medical breakthroughs with the other. Their capacity to both destroy and heal appears to be without limit. A sudden alert drew his attention. The domain fleet had pushed closer to Earth's sector, conquering another star system, just 30 light-years away. The war was getting closer. "They're not ready," Tom said, voicing both their concerns. "The domain will crush them. We should warn them." Trell shook his head, his gray skin darkening with worry. "Our orders are clear. We observe only. The Council believes humanity is too volatile to join the galactic community." He turned back to the viewing window, watching as night swept across Earth's North American continent. Cities lit up like stars against the darkness, a display that never failed to captivate him. These humans, with their brief lives and endless determination, had accomplished so much in so little time. "Look at these military reports," Tom said, displaying more data. "They've developed new urban combat techniques. Their special forces units are achieving things that should be impossible for their technology level." Trell studied the information carefully. Humans had a way of fighting that was different from any species he had encountered in his 300 years. They didn't follow the logical patterns that most civilizations developed. They were creative, aggressive, and most importantly, they learned from every failure. He added to his report, "Human military evolution continues to defy standard development patterns. They have mastered the art of asymmetrical warfare, showing remarkable success against superior forces. Their tactical innovation suggests they could adapt quickly to advanced technology if given access to it." A memory surfaced from his early days observing Earth. He had watched in fascination as a small group of human soldiers held off a much larger force using nothing but the terrain and clever planning. The domain's forces, with all their advanced technology, still fought in organized lines and patterns. They would never expect the chaos that humans could bring to a battlefield. "Send this report directly to Council Leader Vale," Trell ordered, adding his highest priority mark to the message. "Include my personal note about the domain's approach to this sector." As the message transmitted through subspace, Trell felt the weight of his responsibility. For 20 years, he had argued that humanity should be left alone to develop at their own pace. Now, with the domain less than 50 light-years away, he wasn't sure they had that luxury anymore. "Sir," Tom called out, his voice tense. "Long-range sensors are picking up domain scout ships entering the Orc cloud." Trell's skin went pale. They were out of time. The domain had arrived far sooner than anyone had predicted. He quickly began composing an emergency transmission to the Council. "The domain has reached Sol's system. Humanity will soon face extinction or first contact. Request immediate intervention. These humans may be young, but they do not deserve to fall to the domain. And more importantly," he paused, choosing his next words carefully, "the galaxy may need their unique abilities sooner than we thought." The message sent, Trull looked down at Earth one more time. "Get ready," he whispered to the unsuspecting planet below. "Everything is about to change." The first attack came without warning. Mars Colony's main dome exploded in a flash of purple light that turned night into day. Captain James Walker watched the destruction through the view screen of his mining vessel, the Star Miner, while his crew stood frozen in horror. "What just hit us?" his first officer Mike asked, hands gripping the control panel. Before James could answer, 3 massive ships emerged from behind Mars' smaller moon, Phobos. They were unlike anything humans had ever built, smooth, dark vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "All ships, this is Captain Walker," he broadcast on the emergency channel. "Fall back to Earth. Whatever these things are, they just destroyed main colony." His voice remained steady despite the fear churning in his gut. The mining fleet consisted of 15 vessels, all of them built for extracting minerals from asteroids, not combat. But as James watched the alien ships approach, an idea formed in his mind. "Pete," he called to his engineer, "how much blasting charge do we have in the holds?" "About 50 tons, Cap. We were supposed to use it for the new mining operation next week." James nodded, a grim smile forming on his face. "Load all of it into the drill pods. Mike, get me the other ship captains on a secure line." The alien vessels moved with terrifying precision, their weapons turning 2 more mining ships into expanding clouds of debris. But they didn't expect what happened next. James had spent 20 years breaking up asteroids. He knew exactly how explosives worked in space. While the alien ships focused on the fleeing vessels, his crew and 4 other mining ships released hundreds of drill pods, small, automated units normally used to plant explosives in asteroids. "They're not shooting at the pods," Mike observed. "They don't recognize them as weapons." "Why would they?" James replied. "To them, we're primitives. Probably don't think we can hurt them at all." The pods swarmed around the alien vessels like angry bees, their simple guidance systems locking onto the largest metal signatures. When the first pod made contact, its drill activated, boring through the strange hull material. "Now," James ordered. 50 pods detonated simultaneously against the lead alien ship. The explosion wasn't as spectacular as in the movies. In space, there was no air to carry a shockwave. But the concentrated force tore through the vessel's hull, ripping it apart from multiple points. The other alien ships immediately changed their attack pattern, but it was too late. The remaining mining vessels had launched their pods too. Within minutes, a second alien ship split apart, its crew exposed to the vacuum of space. The third ship retreated, vanishing in a flash of light that hurt James's eyes. He didn't have time to celebrate. "All ships, get back to Earth now. They'll be back with reinforcements." During the 12-hour journey home, Earth's government scrambled to respond. Videos of the attack had already gone viral, and panic spread across the globe. But alongside the fear, something else emerged: determination. James found himself rushed from his ship to a hastily assembled military conference. Generals and admirals from various nations listened intently as he described the battle and his improvised tactics. "They were overconfident," he explained. "Their technology is far beyond ours, but they fought like they had a rulebook. No creativity, no adaptation. When we did something unexpected, they didn't know how to respond." "Can we replicate what you did?" a general asked. James nodded. "Every mining ship, cargo hauler, and space tug can be converted into a weapon. We know how to work in space. We might not have their technology, but we know how to fight dirty." As if to emphasize his point, alarms blared across the base. More alien ships had appeared, this time in Earth orbit. But now they faced a humanity that knew it could fight back. "Get me back to my ship," James said, standing up. "And give me every explosive you've got. They think we're primitive. Let's show them how dangerous primitives can be." The war for Earth had begun, and humanity's first victory was just the beginning. 1 week after humanity's first space battle, Admiral Kate Stone stood in the United Nations emergency chamber, staring at beings she never thought she'd meet. 3 alien representatives had appeared suddenly in the middle of a military briefing, their advanced hologram technology bypassing all of Earth's security measures. "We are the Confederation," the tallest one said in perfect English. Kate recognized him as the same species as Trell, the observer who had revealed himself to Earth's leaders 2 days ago. "And we're here to help." The chamber erupted in shouting and questions until Kate's voice cut through the chaos. "Help how?" she asked. "Where were you when they attacked Mars?" The alien, who introduced himself as High Commander Vale, lowered all 4 of his eyes in what appeared to be shame. "We were bound by ancient laws of non-interference, but now that the domain has broken those laws, we can act. We bring you technology, ships, and alliance." Kate studied the holographic display they showed next. Confederation ships appeared more elegant than the domain's dark vessels, their silver hulls gleaming with blue energy. But something about their battle formations bothered her. "Stop," she said, pointing at the display. "Play that battle sequence again." The aliens showed a recent fight between Confederation and Domain fleets. Kate walked through the hologram, her military training spotting a dozen missed opportunities. "Your ships move in standard patterns," she said. "Predictable formations. The Domain knows exactly what you're going to do before you do it. These are time-tested strategies," one of the other aliens replied, "refined over centuries of combat." Kate shook her head. "That's the problem. You've been fighting the same way for too long. Look at this." She pulled up footage from the Mars battle. "We won because we did something they didn't expect. Something that didn't follow military logic." The aliens watched in fascination as the mining pods swarmed their targets. Vale's skin changed color slightly. What Kate had learned was a sign of intense interest. "Show them the Moscow Gambit," General Harris suggested from his seat. Kate nodded and displayed another simulation. It showed Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet split into tiny groups, using the moon's gravity to slingshot ships in seemingly random directions. When the Domain attacked again 3 days ago, they couldn't track the scattered human vessels until it was too late. "Impossible," the third alien said. "Small ships cannot defeat larger ones. It defies tactical doctrine." "That's exactly why it works," Kate explained. "Your doctrine is too rigid. Both you and the Domain think in straight lines. Humans," she smiled, "we think in zigzags." Vale stepped closer to the hologram, his long fingers moving through the display of Earth ships, darting between Domain vessels like angry wasps. "In 3 days, you developed more new tactics than we have in a century." "We had to," Kate replied. "It was adapt or die." "Now about that technology you're offering." The next few hours changed the course of the war. The Confederation provided Earth with shield technology, energy weapons, and faster-than-light drives. In return, humanity shared their unconventional tactics and warfare innovations. Kate watched as human pilots climbed into Confederation fighters, their instincts already finding ways to push the alien craft beyond their designed limits. In simulators, Earth's tactics combined with advanced technology proved devastating. "There's something you should know," Vale said quietly to Kate as they watched the training. "We didn't just come here to help you." "I figured as much," she replied. "The Domain has conquered 12 systems in the past year alone. Their tactics never change, but they don't need to. Their technology always wins." He turned all 4 eyes to her. "We need your help. Humanity's help. You think differently than any species we've encountered." Kate looked at the human pilots now flying circles around their alien instructors. "How long do we have to prepare?" "The Domain will return in force within 1 month." She nodded, already forming plans. "Then we better get started. First lesson. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to overpower your enemy." She grinned. "It's to confuse the hell out of them." Dr. Marcus Reed stared at the twisted remains of a Domain shield generator, its dark metal spread across his laboratory table. 3 weeks had passed since the Confederation shared their technology, But Marcus wasn't interested in just copying alien designs. He wanted to understand them. "You're wasting your time," the Confederation engineer called Ben said, watching Marcus take more readings. "That shield design has been perfected over centuries." Marcus didn't look up from his work. That's what they said about sailing ships, until someone invented the steam engine. He adjusted his instruments, studying how the alien metal reacted to different energy frequencies. The domain's next attack was expected any day now. While other scientists rushed to copy Confederation technology, Marcus had noticed something odd about how alien shields worked. They all used the same frequency patterns, the same energy distributions. "Look at this," he said, pointing to his computer screen. "Your shields treat energy like a wall, pushing against incoming attacks. But what if we treated it more like water?" Ben's silver skin rippled with confusion. "Energy is not liquid." "No, but it can flow like one." Marcus pulled up Earth's research on fluid dynamics. "See how water moves around obstacles. What if we made shields that redirected energy instead of just blocking it?" The alien engineer still looked confused, but Marcus was already building a prototype. He combined Confederation power cells with modified Earth satellite dishes, creating a field that could bend and flow around his lab. "This makes no sense," Ben said, watching the energy patterns shift and swirl. "Shields must be solid." "Says who?" Marcus asked. He picked up a small stone. "Watch this." He threw the stone at the shield. Instead of bouncing off or being vaporized, the stone's momentum was caught in the energy flow and redirected, sending it in a curved path back to Marcus's hand. Ben's confusion turned to surprise. "That's impossible." "That's human physics," Marcus grinned. "We learned a long time ago that sometimes the best defense isn't about being stronger, it's about being smarter." Word of the new shield design spread quickly. Within days, Marcus found himself presenting to a joint Human Confederation military council. Admiral Stone watched with intense interest as he demonstrated his prototype. "The real advantage," Marcus explained, "is that it uses half the power of standard shields. The energy flow naturally returns to the emitters instead of being dispersed. Plus, it can adapt to different types of attacks automatically." "Can it be scaled up?" Kate asked. "Say, to capital ship size." Marcus nodded. "The principles are the same, and here's the best part. Domain weapons are designed to overwhelm normal shields with brute force, but you can't overwhelm something that doesn't fight back. Their energy just gets redirected." The council chamber buzzed with excitement. Combined with human battle tactics, this new shield technology could change everything. But Marcus wasn't finished. "There's more," he said, pulling up new diagrams. "If we modify the energy flow patterns, we can create shield bubbles that don't just defend. They can reach out and grab things." He demonstrated with a small drone, using his shield to catch and hold it in midair. Imagine capturing enemy missiles and turning them back on their ships, or creating energy nets between vessels to trap enemy craft. Kate's eyes lit up with tactical possibilities. Even the Confederation representatives looked impressed. Centuries of thinking about shields as walls had blinded them to other possibilities. "How soon can we implement this?" Vale asked. Marcus looked at his prototype, then at the fleet deployment schedules. "Give me 3 days to modify the first ship. Once we prove it works, we can adapt the design for mass production." As the council dispersed to prepare for the coming battle, Ben approached Marcus's workbench. The alien engineer studied the shield prototype with new respect. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "there are more ways to look at old problems than we thought." Marcus smiled, already sketching plans for his next idea. "That's the thing about humans, Ben. We never stop looking for new ways to solve old problems." He paused, looking up at his alien colleague. "Now let me tell you about this crazy idea I have for your weapon systems." Commander Alex Torres watched from the bridge of the Earth ship Thunder as 300 domain warships emerged from hyperspace. Their dark hulls blocked out the stars, forming a wall of seemingly unstoppable force. "They're right on time," he said, checking the tactical display. His own fleet looked tiny in comparison. Just 30 ships, a mix of converted Earth vessels and Confederation crafts. "Commander," his sensor officer reported, "they're deploying in standard attack formation, just like you predicted." Alex nodded. He had studied every recorded battle against the domain. Colonel Maria Thompson sat in a dimly lit command center on Europa Base, watching hundreds of holographic dots move across the strategic display. Each dot represented a domain supply ship, and all of them were heading straight into her trap. "They took the bait," her intelligence officer said. "The false transmission worked perfectly." Maria nodded, allowing herself a small smile. After their defeat at Jupiter, the domain had changed their military tactics, but they hadn't changed how they thought. That was their biggest weakness. "Send in the ghost ships," she ordered. Across 50 different systems, automated vessels began broadcasting fake distress signals. Each one claimed to be a damaged domain warship, calling for supplies and support. The domain's rigid command structure required them to respond to every call. "Their supply lines are stretching thin," reported Tom, the former assistant to Trell who now worked with human intelligence. "They're trying to support too many locations at once." "That's the thing about empires," Maria said, watching more supply ships divert from their original courses. "The bigger they are, the harder it is to keep them fed." She had studied Earth's military history extensively. No matter how strong an army was, it could be defeated by cutting off its supplies. The domain had never faced this problem before. Their superior technology had always let them move resources at will. "Phase 2, Maria commanded. "Let's add some chaos to their confusion." Across domain communication channels, carefully crafted messages began appearing. Some warned of human superweapons. Others hinted at rebellion in distant domain systems. Many simply carried random strings of code that domain computers would waste time trying to decrypt. "Ma'am," her communication officer called out, "they're starting to jam their own frequencies. They can't tell which messages are real anymore." This was what Maria had been waiting for. The domain's greatest strength, their interconnected, highly organized command structure, was becoming their greatest weakness. They had no experience dealing with disinformation. "Launch the miners," she ordered. Hundreds of mining ships, the same kind that had won humanity's first space battle, jumped into domain space. But these ships weren't carrying explosives. They were dropping millions of small devices that looked exactly like the mines they feared. "Are they actual mines?" a Confederation observer asked, watching the operation. "Some are," Maria replied. "Most are just empty metal shells with a power signature. But they'll have to treat every single one as real." The domain fleet's response was exactly what she had predicted. They diverted even more ships to sweep for mines, further stretching their resources. Supply ships had to take longer routes, crews became exhausted from constant alerts, and commanders couldn't trust their own communications. "Colonel," Tom said, his silver skin reflecting the holographic displays, "domain ships are requesting verification codes from each other. They think we've infiltrated their fleet." "We have," Maria smiled, "just not in the way they think." She pulled up a new display showing domain fleet movements over the past week. "Look at their pattern. They're so busy looking for infiltrators and checking for tricks, they've completely lost their offensive capability." The domain's once mighty armada had been reduced to a paranoid, scattered force without firing a single shot. Ships wouldn't leave port without triple verification. Supply runs took 5 times longer due to security checks. Commander didn't trust their own orders. "Message from Admiral Stone," her comm officer announced. "The domain's central command is requesting a ceasefire. They say they want to discuss terms." Maria looked at the strategic display one last time. The domain's dots were now clustered defensively around their bases, their former confidence shattered by nothing more than human ingenuity and the power of fear. "Send them this response," she said. "Before we discuss terms, you should know that everything you've seen so far was just a test. The real attacks haven't even begun. It was a bluff, of course, but the domain wouldn't know that. In their rigid, logical world, they had no defense against humanity's greatest weapon, imagination. Now, Maria turned to her staff. Let's show them what else we can do with their nightmares. Trell stood once again at his viewing window, but this time he wasn't hiding. His observation ship floated openly above Earth, one of many alien vessels now welcome in human space. 6 months had passed since the domain signed the peace treaty, and the galaxy was still adjusting to the changes humanity had brought. "The Council is ready for your final report," Tom said, joining him at the window. "How do you summarize something like this?" Trell asked, watching a group of human ships practicing maneuvers alongside Confederation vessels. "How do you explain to the galaxy what really happened?" "Tell them the truth," Tom suggested. "Tell them what you saw." Trell nodded and began his transmission to the Confederation Council. The words came easily. He had watched humanity's journey from the beginning. "In less than 1 Earth year," he reported, "humanity didn't just join our war, they'd revolutionized it. They took our technology and used it in ways we never imagined. They took our tactics and turned them upside down. But most importantly, they taught us to think differently." On his display, he pulled up footage from the key moments. Captain Walker's improvised mining ship attack, Admiral Stone's unconventional battle strategies, Dr. Reed's flowing shields that defied conventional physics, Commander Torres's victory against impossible odds, and Colonel Thompson's masterful psychological warfare. "The domain's surrender wasn't just a military defeat," he continued. "It was a revolution in how wars are fought and won. Humanity showed us that victory doesn't always go to the strongest or most advanced. It goes to those who can adapt, innovate, and imagine new possibilities." Below, in one of Earth's major cities, he could see construction crews using modified shield technology to build structures that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Nearby, a human school was hosting young aliens, teaching them Earth's history and different ways of solving problems. But perhaps humanity's greatest contribution wasn't their victory, Trell added. It was what they did after. Instead of demanding revenge for the Mars attack, humans had offered to help rebuild domain worlds damaged by the war. They shared their technology freely, taught their creative problem-solving methods, and worked to integrate all species into a new galactic community. "They call it thinking outside the box," he explained to the Council. "It means looking beyond traditional solutions, beyond what we think is possible." In 6 months, they've proposed more new ideas for peaceful cooperation than we had in the previous century. A group of domain scientists had recently visited Earth's universities, learning not just human technology but human creativity. They left understanding that their centuries of advancement had also been centuries of stagnation. "The galaxy trembled when humanity joined the war," Trell concluded, "but not for the reasons we expected. We thought they would bring chaos. Instead, they brought change. We thought they would disrupt our order. Instead, they showed us a better way to create it." As he finished his report, Trell received a message from Earth's new Galactic Cooperation Center. They wanted his help teaching a class on cross-species understanding. Him, the observer who had watched in secret for so long, now invited to be part of humanity's journey among the stars. "There's one more thing," Tom said, showing him a new report. "The humans have started exploring beyond our known space. They're using their new shields to venture into areas we thought were impossible to reach." Trell wasn't surprised. Of course, humans wouldn't stop at winning a war. They had to explore, to push boundaries, to see what else was possible. "Should we be worried?" Tom asked, "about what they might find out there?" Trell watched a human ship disappear into hyperspace, carrying a crew of mixed species toward the unknown. "No," he said, "we should be excited, because whatever they find, they'll show us a new way to understand it." The observer who had once hidden from humanity now stood proudly among them, watching as they led the galaxy into a future that no one could have predicted. The war was over, but humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy was just beginning.